Good morning.
Morning, Stephen. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Bad?
I got to get off the line in a couple of minutes. I'm just going on the beginning. Got a levaya to go to.
Okay, no problem.
It's my wife's cousin's father. They're probably going to be late this morning.
I don't think that much, that late. It'll be about 8:32, 8:35. It is. No, maybe not, 8:28 already. Huh? Until they meander in over there. Depends on what they're using to do the Zoom. They use Ken's computer, it'll work.
Yeah.
Here we go. Bill's on. Zev Cooperman is on. Morning, Zev.
Good morning, Harvey.
Good morning. You only going where? To leaving it, right? All right. Call me later.
need to get off. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good day.
All right. All right, Steve.
Thanks. All the best.
Good morning, Rabbi Green.
Morning. All right. Hi, Zeb. Hi, Harvey.
Good morning.
Will not be on Zoom this morning, so I know that. Okay, so we'll write the announcements. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to start with our learning sponsors and a little administrativia. Learning sponsors, Sue Ann Garelick, in memory of Malcolm Proman and Philip Mann. And Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, and Yerivka Pro Rosna bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch. In memory of family murdered in the Holocaust, Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Harav Tzvi Hirsch. Shall share her children and grandchildren in memory of her uncle, founding member of BRS, Dr. Israel Brook, Yisrael ben Arav Akiva, Marsha Federbush and family, in memory of her husband, Dr. Uriel Paul Federbush, Uriel Pinchas ben Arav Shimon, Sharon and Fred Liska, their family and many friends, in memory of our dear mom, Harriet Friedman, Edelbas Yaakov, Leslie and Gail Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedal Irving and Pearl Kaplan, friends of Avi Gitler, Avrameir ben Shimon, and Martha Gitler, Shana bat Yeshaya, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova bat Yisrael Dov in her memory, friends of Malka Levy, Malka bat Yosef, friends of Joe Wolf, Yosef ben Chaim, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher, friends of Nina Moinester, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak. They have a month of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his mother, Dacia Gittel Basmer Levi, by the Boca Babes, in memory of their dear friend Susan Wertman, Chaya Sarah Bat Alta Yosef, by Chaim and Phyllis Reese, in memory of his father, Mordechai ben Yom Tov Lipa, by myself, wife Karen, and friends, in memory of Karen's mother, Nechama Bat Moshe HaKohen, by Charlie Gelfenstein, in memory of his father, Meir ben Yaakov. A week of learning by Stephen Edie Vigdor, in memory of his mother, Mendel Bat Rav Shmuel. Today being the 11th, correct? It's a day, right? Oh, today's only the 8th. All right, then, okay, then we're done. Hashem is having Aliyah, Crank, or a fear of Velti Shir Shem Atzliah, Choban Israel, good Gabench Yar. Okay, it has been recommended that we do the Siyum as part of Shalashudas on Shabbos. And those that would like to participate can give $5. So we think that should be sufficient. Okay, to add a little more, okay, make it a little more, as we say in French, sporiftic, right, I think, right? Okay, what?
Who's collecting the money?
Mel is. Okay,
So, because we may be a co-sponsor, I don't know, unless
we'll look into it. Okay, and we'll check on everything that's being done as well. Okay.
Don't forget.
Okay. All right. Take care of that with Mel. Okay. Lamed Amud Aleph,
But wait a
gentlemen.
second, just want to make a point that we're gonna be going in for about over a month to Gemara Titus. So this is a good way to start the fast, okay? And when we end that in about 30-something days, we'll have a tremendous year. That's it.
That's to break the fast.
The break fast. Right.
Right.
Prepare, Shalos Shabbos.
Okay.
Tremendous, he works out.
Should make a breakfast.
No breakfast is a breakfast is a breakfast, yeah.
Okay, Ve'im based in, right, Ma'im based in, B'fnei based in, La'afuke Shalo B'fnei based in, Delo. That's where we ended on the top of Lamed Amud Aleph, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pick up. Remember, we've been dealing with the issue of Kavana, and we're going to keep going a bit. All right. So let's see what we've got. All right. Meitiv Rava. Rava is going to challenge this idea with a brighter. Va'od zod haita Yerushalayim yetera al Yavna. We're going to give another example. He's suggesting Rava. Okay. Mai va'od zot. Why does it have to use the lashon of od and zot? Why both words? Ilema kidikatani. If we were taught simply as the bright that we had before said, zot mabayele, it should have been enough, I'll say, that we would have required to say simply zot. Why did it have to use od zot? Okay. Ela de Birushalayim tok in yechidin, ubiyavna ein tok in yechidin. So according to Rava, okay, the practice was that individuals also blew shofar on Shabbos in the city precinct in Yerushalayim, whereas that was not the case with regards to Yav. However, Ubiyavna ein tokin yichidim, asks the Gemara. And do we say in Yavna individuals did not blow on Shabbos? Vaha ki ata Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef amar. But here, when Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef came, he said, Ki misayim shlicha de tzibura tekiya b'Yavna. When the Baal Tekiya shlich tzibur sounded the sounds in Yavna, lo shama inish kol one mikal tekiyoa diyachidai, that the person could not hear even their own voice in their own ears because of the sound of other individuals blowing shofar in Yavna. So that seems to directly contradict, right, what Rava just said, right? Ela, love, is it not the following? Okay, could this be why we say od zot? An additional example, right? The Birushalayim tokin bein bisman beitin ubein shelo bisman beitin. That in Jerusalem they sounded the shofar on Shabbat, right? When, regardless of whether the Beit Din, in other words, the Sanhedrin clearly was there and in session, or not there, or not in session, right? Ubiyavna bisman Beit Din in, shelo bisman Beit Din lo. Whereas in Yavna, when the Beit Din was there, okay, and we're assuming it means there in session, okay? You don't think so?
It's Shabbos, it's Yom Tov.
They wouldn't meet
I
on
didn't
Shabbos.
understand this because-
Okay, that's what the point I want to get to is, as we get through the Gemara is going to make a difference between their being there and their being in session. I understand that, but I'm just saying, okay? So let's go on. So let's for the moment say that the Beit Din is simply that they're in residence. We'll use that phrase, okay? All right? Miha, okay, right? Shelo b'zman Beit Din. If it's not the time when the Beit Din is in residence there, okay? Ha bizman Beit Din, miha took in. But here we say, don't we ask the question, when the Beit Din is in residence, don't they necessarily sound the shofar? Va'afilu shelo b'fnei Beit Din. and even not when they're in residence?
Not in their presence.
Okay, not, okay, the question is, do they do it in the area, in the courtyard, let's say, where they actually meet? Okay, or elsewhere, right? So that's the point we're getting to. Va'afilu shelo b'fnei beit din, and not in their makom kavua, so to speak? No, that's not the case. The ilu b'Yerushalayim tokin bein b'fnei beit din, bein shelo b'fnei beit din. We're going to say no, that it's a situation that in Jerusalem, they would sound it on Shabbos, whether it's done in the presence of the Beit Din or not in the presence of the Beit Din. B'Yavne, b'fnei Beit Din en, in Yavne, in the presence of the Beit Din, yes. Shelo b'fnei Beit Din, lo. But when it's not the presence of the Beit Din, or the Beit Din is not in residence, no. Okay. Now, what happens? Ika dematne la, laha, okay, the Rav Huna, aha. And there are those who teach this on what Rav Huna said about this, namely in regards to the Braita of Yovel, Dichtiv, ubiyom haKippurim ta'aviru shofar b'chol artzechem. On Yom Kippur, right, we are to sound the shofar throughout the land, which would imply where it says ta'aviru artzechem, it means not simply in the location where the Beis Din is, but even in the Medina, which is different from what our Mishnah said at the outset. Okay? Ella, shekol yachid v'yachid chayav l'koah, which would seem to imply that each individual has the obligation to sound it. Everything okay with Sid? That he had a, okay. All right, Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, ve'im beit din, but it said still at the very outset of the Amud, right, where we saw there Amar Rav Huna, im beit din. What did he mean by that? Right? Im beit din, my ve'im beit din. What does that really mean? Bisman beit din, at the time when they're in residence or they're present in that city. La'afuke shelo bisman beit din. Exclude when it wasn't, the Beit Din wasn't there. Delo, and therefore then they would not be. Problem is, Maitiv Rava. Rava challenges with another Braita. Tkiyat Rosh Hashanah, V'Yovel, right? Both the Tkiyat for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur of the Yovel. Dochet HaShabbat B'Gvulin, okay? Should defer the Shabbos in the surroundings. Ish ubeito, okay, a man and his household. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean then Ish ubeito, that it means that each individual blows in the Medina too? Is that the implication? We have to see. Right? Right. So we ask the question, my ishu beito. What do we mean then by the phrase when Rabbah says ishu beito? Ilema ish ve'ishto. If we say he's blowing it for himself and his wife, itata michayva, does his wife really have an obligation to hear shofar? Vaha mitzvat aseh shezman gramahi. Who? He, all right? But it's a time-bound, time-associated mitzvah, right? V'chol mitzvot aseh shehazman grama, nashim p'turot. And we say that time-oriented, fixed, right? Mitzvot, women are exempt. Ela lav, therefore it must it not be the following? Ish beveito, a man in his own home, right? Va'afilu shelo bisman beit din. Does that mean even at the time when the Beit Din is not present in that community, in that city? No. Le'olam bisman Beit Din. No, we're still talking about the time when the Beit Din is in force, so to speak. is present.
Present.
Yeah.
of the building.
Okay? Meitiv Rav Sheshit. So Rav Sheshit raises a shaila now with a bright and challenges. Shave hayovel Rosh Hashanah l'tkiya lebrachot. We've said elsewhere with a brighter that the same procedure that's done for Rosh Hashanah is done on Yom Kippur of Yovel in regards to the sounds and the blessings. Elisha b'Yovel tokin bein b'veit din shekitshu bo et chodesh. But on Yovel, we sounded, okay, whether the court is the one that consecrated the month, ubein beit din shelo kitshu bo et chodesh, or it wasn't the court that happened to consecrate the month. Kol yachid v'yachid chayav l'tkoa, and each individual is obligated to sound, right? Uberosh Hashanah, whereas I'm going to say on Rosh Hashanah, lo hayu tokin ele b'beit din shekidshu bo et chodesh. But on Rosh Hashanah, it was only sounded on Shabbat in the presence of the court that actually consecrated the month. Ve'ein kol yachid v'yachid chayav l'tkoa. And an individual is not obligated to sound. What do we mean then when we say ein kol yachid v'yachid chayav l'tkoa? Right? What does that imply? Ilema to biyovel tokin yichidim. If we're going to say that on the occasion of Yom Kippur of Yovel, individuals sound, uber Rosh Hashanah ein tokin yichidim, and on Rosh Hashanah, individuals do not sound. Vahaki ata Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef amar. But what about that which along comes Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef, and what did he say? Ki hava misayim shlicha de tzibura, when the Baal Tekiah, who was the community representative, right? Did he sound Tekiata biyavna in Yavna? Lo shama inish kol one mikol Tekiah the Yechidei, that no one could hear their own sound of their own voice in their own ears because of the sound of individual shofar blowing. His testimony. Ela love, wasn't it not then? The ilu b'yovel tokin, that on the Yovel, Yom Kippur Yovel, we sound bein bisman beit din, bein shelo bisman, whether the beit din is present or whether it's not present. Bisman beit din in shelo bisman beit din lo. That when the beit din is present in Rosh Hashanah, yes, it sounded on Shabbat. If it's not there, no. Now, Gemara picks up and tells us, Katani mihat, it was taught nevertheless, B'yovel bein bisman beit din, bein shelo bisman beit din, right? It said on Yovel it was done regardless of whether the court was there or not. Lo, no, says the Gemara. Le'olam bisman beit din, v'hachi katani. It was really done always in the time if the beit din was present. And this is what it's coming to teach us. B'yovel, in the Yom Kippur of the Jubilee year, bisman beit din, at the time when the court is present, tokin bein bifnei beit din, bein shelo bifnei beit din. At the time the court is present, they sounded whether it's in front of, in the presence of the Beit court, or not in the presence of the Beit Din. But Rosh Hashanah, whereas in Rosh Hashanah, tokin bisman Beit Din, ubifnei Beit Din, they sounded also whether the court is in the, I'll say in the city, for example, for the moment, there or not there. Itmar nami, and it's also said about this the following, only then, right? So what happens? Tokin bisman beit din ubifnei beit din. Only if the court is present, but not in their presence. Okay, all right, you're right.
You have to.
Yes, you're right. Okay, bifnei beit din. in the present place where the court meets. Let's put it,
And in there.
and in their presence. Okay, Itzmar Nami, it was also said as follows. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Gamda, Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Shaul, Amar Rabbi. Right? Ein tokin ele kol zman shebeit din yoshvin. Okay, we're only said that we don't blow unless it's a time when the court is, let's call it, in session. All right, I'll use that phrase, sitting in session. Okay, now we get an interesting question by Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera asks the following shaila. None aru. Okay, if the members of the court stirred, I'm going to use that word. Okay, in other words,
They finished whatever they.
right, they may have finished they not in discussing a case. Some of them are right, we have a la'amod nin aru la'amod. They stirred in preparation to get up. Okay, velo amdum, but they didn't answer. They weren't actually standing. Okay, so they're not sitting, certainly not sitting in session. Okay, but they're not standing, which shows that they've completed all their stuff. Okay, Mahu, what's the status then? Asks Rabbi Zera. Beit din yoshvin ba'inan. Okay, vaha'ika. Do we say when we, based on that statement of those chachamim, that since they're seated, yes, it is, that's what we're asking about and it's required. And that's the case here. O Dilma, or perhaps Zman Beit Din Ba'inan, or do we say it has to be the time when the Beit Din is actually in session? Okay, is that what we need? Veleka. And in that case, if they're stirring, they're not real in session. Take them. We don't have an answer. Okay, let's go on. Va'od, and furthermore, Zot Haita Yerushalayim Yitera Al Yavne Chue. Now we're going to try to come up with another alternative answer. How Yavne was different from Yerushalayim, right? Following. Okay, Ro'eh. All right. Okay, we said, I'm going to come back for a second. In that Mishnah, it said that people who could see Yerushalayim or could hear it, okay, right, or in the environs, okay, in the they could come and then they could hear shofar on Shabbos, right?
They didn't blow where they were, if they met all three requirements.
Okay, now, so what are now? So we're really talking about that aspect of the statement in the Mishnah, right?
The issue on the table really is it and or?
Okay, you might explain it that way. Ro'eh, okay, when we said that they could see, what did it mean? Prat liyoshevet benachal, with the exclusion of a community, I'm going to say, that dwelled in a valley, right?
They can't see.
Really, they can't see. Shoma'at, when it says they could hear, prat liyoshevet b'rosh ha'har. Okay, why? If those that are on the top of a hill, they could see, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can hear it. Okay, krova, in the environs close by, prat liyoshevet chutz l'tchum. Okay, with the exclusion of those that were beyond the Shabbos tchum. V'yichola lavo, and when we said they're able to come, right? Prat lemafsik la nahara, with the exclusion that there's a river or something in between, and they can't cross that, certainly not on Shabbos, to come to hear the shofar there. Okay, so that ends that whole discussion. All right? Yes, Alan.
Question. How did the Sanhedrin meet? In other words, did they meet when they needed to, or was there a schedule, or?
There was a schedule.
I think that I agree with Mike. There was a regular schedule when they met, they would gather, they had excuse the expression, assigned seating, okay? In other words, nobody sat in somebody else's seat, okay? And they sat in a semicircle, okay? So it was very defined, okay? Not only who sat where, other students sat, those who came, okay, would sit, I believe, if I remember, in front, in rows, and even that was assigned seating as well.
You moved up. as you-
Okay, right, and, okay,
So when they say question, that on Rosh Hashanah, you only blew when the Sanhedrin was seated or was in session.
yeah,
I mean, first of all, they wouldn't meet on Rosh Hashanah, they would meet on Shabbos. And second of all, they had
They did meet on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is still folded. They had to be Makari to hold it.
they had to meet,
So
Yeah.
they did.
they would,
They made Yontif. That is the whole thing. I don't understand.
so but again, they're talking about when they were in session, when they were not in session, so they would always be in session. So why would
No,
there
no,
be a
no,
question?
they were in session like they had office hours.
Yeah.
Normally, the hours ended on
Well,
or
how
about.
so?
noon.
no. Okay, so think of it this way, they would, okay, I think that's a good way of
Which
explaining.
means they finished Musaf and they davened Musaf and they were done by 12 o'clock. That's a Musaf.
Yeah, anyway,
Okay.
well,
So the answer is go to that show and then you're not.
no, basically, they had set times that they would meet to define cases, okay, and rule on cases. That's why we often have the discussion elsewhere in the Gemara where it says, could you have a case like Mamonot? We saw that recently, where we argued, well, maybe that could, they had met and discussed it, but they could render the decision later in the day, even, right? In other words, just,
Even after sundown.
right, I assume, okay, Lahavdi. Anyway, Matnitin, let's go on with our Gemara, because it's got a lot of Gemara and not a lot of
I have
time.
a question from this.
Yes, sorry.
On Yom Kippur, they blow during the day, because like nowadays we blow just as at the end of Yom Kippur. So don't
I think they're
know.
talking about Yom Kippur of the Yovel,
Only
the
is-
Jubilee year. So that would be they would,
That's the only Yom Kippur they're talking about with blowing.
during the day.
And even our blowing is just a Zecher.
No, but I'm saying like our blowing is no problem, even if it's Shabbos, because the blowing is ready, Ois Yom Tov.
No, it isn't.
So.
Not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, you wait, all right? If Yom Kippur comes out on a Shabbos, you wait
Till after Shabbos.
till after
But
Shabbos,
our blowing is not, it's just a minhag. It
right?
has nothing to do with, it's a remez to the blowing on Yom.
Basically,
That's
the
all.
question is that they blow during the day on Yom Kippur.
On
Yeah.
1/750.
Yeah,
Just like we do, in the middle of Musa
Saf.
3
right? Like Malchiyot Zichronot Shofar, okay? That's another whole discussion, which we may want to, when we get into the Gemara, by the way, we may want to bring up that side discussion, okay, between when the Tekiyot are Tekiyot during the silent Amida versus during repetition. We'll have to look at that, okay? All right, anyway, coming back now. Matnitin, our Mishnah tells us in a new case, Berishona haya halulav nital b'mikdash shiva u'b'medina yom echad. Originally, lulav was taken and shuk, okay, every day, but outside of the Beis HaMikdash, it was done only one day, first day. Okay? Mishacharav Beit HaMikdash, Hitkin Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, Sheyehei lulav nital b'medina shiv'a zeichel HaMikdash. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made it, okay, indicated that for Zeichel HaMikdash, okay, they would do it all 7 days, right? So what happens, says the Gemara? V'sheyehei Yom Henef. Another part of this the Mishnah says that the day of waving the Omer, which is the 16th of Nisan, the day which would allow the eating of the new crop, right? That's what Yom Henef is. Kulo Asur. That eating it on that day was not permitted. One had to really wait till
17th.
17th of Nisan. Okay? All right, now clarifying. Uminalan da'avdinan zeichel mikdash. And on what basis, asks the Gemara, do we even establish something as a remembrance of the Beis Hamikdash? Da'amar kra, based perhaps on the following pasuk. Ki ele arucha lach umimkotayich arpaech ne'um Hashem ki nadcha kra'olach Sion hidoresh em lach. Okay, so the pasuk basically, I'm not going to translate the whole pasuk, but because Art Scrolls got it there, I think. But in any case, it indicates a refuah, okay, for Yerushalayim, some benefit, right? So what happens? Miklau the ba'e drisha, okay. So therefore, this tells us that it must imply that
The last,
that there is acts of caring.
the
Right.
last words of the pasuk are, nobody is looking, nobody cares about Zion.
Right, so the
And so
implication is
We
that,
should care about
right, that there must require, that it does require caring concern. Okay, that's the point. Acts of caring, right? V'shehei yom henef kulo asur, and that the day of the waving of Omer is eating on that new crop, that day is forbidden. Ma'itama, what's the reason? Mehere yivneh beit hamikdash, that gets slipped in there. All right, will quickly be the Beit Mikdash be rebuilt. Vayomru, they said, why? What's Vayomru? People might say the following: Eshtakad, last year, Milo achalnu baha'ir mizrach. Weren't we able to eat the new crop when the sun rose? Right? Achshav nami nichol. Now, why aren't we able to eat it? Right? Right? Velo yade. And they did not know the eshtakad lo hava omer, that right, that last year, okay, what was it? That there wasn't the opportunity or permissibility to eat the omer there. Ha'ir mizrach hitir, but it was the sunrise, because there was no Beis Hamikdash, that allowed them to eat the offering, the meal offering. Hashta de'ika omer. But now that there is the Omer with an existing Beis Hamikdash, Omer matir, it's the waving of the Omer as part of the offering in the Beis Hamikdash that allows and permits the eating of the new crop. Right? Right. So he says, Demibane emat. So when would, therefore, we ask the question, would it have been built? Okay. Labriut. If we're going to say that it was built on the 16th, how can that be? Because then, if it was the sunrise that morning, would have already permitted the eating. That's the point. Right? It must have been built then on the 15th, right? The day before, right? And so therefore it had to be built, that it would be built on the 15th, and therefore from midday on the 16th, it would then be, okay, and then be permitted. Tahatanan, why? Because it was taught in a Mishnah, Harichokin mutarin mechatzot hayom ulahalan lafisha ein beit din mitatzlin bo. That the distant environs, the far out suburbs, so to speak, the parts of the country are permitted to eat as of midday. Why? Because the Beit Din is not lazy. No, they decide their issue. They decide, they do the service, the wave offering first thing in the morning. Would have been done by now. Lo nitzracha de ibaneh b'chamisar samuch l'shkiyat hachama. Okay, isn't that then not necessary? Wouldn't it not be necessary then for it to have been built, okay, on the 15th, close to Shkiyat Hachama? Okay, or the night before. Inami di bane balelia, or perhaps even having been built at nighttime. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, what does he say? Amar, okay, following. Rabban Yochanan, that's Queen Rabban ben Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, right? What did he say? Let's go on to the next Amud. Right?
It's just really a little bit of an top.
Yeah, Beshitat Rabbi Yehuda Amra. He says it's in according to the view of Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar who said, Ad etzem hayom hazeh. Okay, citing a pasuk until the essence, right? The middle of the day. What is essence? Middle? Ad atzmo shayom. That's the essence, the middle part of the day. Okay? Ukesavar, and he was also of the opinion, ad va'ad bichlal. That didn't mean up till noon. It meant up to and including the whole day.
Etzem here means atzum, the whole day.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That it was not just noon, okay, but it included the whole 16th. That's why it had to wait
So now he's saying
the following day.
that the whole not eating it is min haTorah.
Well, we're going to get to that. Hold on. Okay, don't jump ahead. Umi savarla kivate, and does he really hold like him? Vaham maflig paligale. But isn't it more that he disagrees with him? Ditznan. No, because what do we say? We have a Mishnah. Mishechara Beit HaMikdash. Hitkin Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Once the temple was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made what would appear to be a takana. Okay, the following. Sheyehei Yom Henef Kulo Asur. That the entire day of the waving, namely the 16th, it was prohibited. Yeah.
This is interesting. This is a misquote. The Mishnah does not have the history.
I know. Okay, well, we're going to get to it. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Says Rabbi Yehuda, implying a disagreement. V'halo min haTorah hu asur. But isn't it forbidden from the Torah? Dichtiv. Why? Because we have a pasuk that tells us ad etzem hayom hazeh. Okay, that up till, and he understood it. We said ad va'ad bichlal, Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, on that day you needed the etzem, not just the essence, the middle of the day, but the whole day. Now says the Gemara, Hatam Rabbi Yehuda hu dekatai. Now there it was Rabbi Yehuda who was making a mistake. Ihu savar, he was of the opinion, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, mid the Rabbanan Ka'amar, that Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai was basing it on rabbinic views. Velohi, okay, that's not the case. Midaoraita Ka'amar. No, he was really basing it on Torah, namely, Bahahit Kin Katani. But this statement says that he made a takana. That's what it's teaching. My hitkin, what do we mean there? Darash the hitkin. That he did a drasha of a pasuk, and from that drasha, he was able to base a decree, a promulgation. Okay, new Mishnah. Okay, matnitin, says our Mishnah. Barishona hayu mekablin edut hachodesh kol hayom. Originally, they were welcoming and receiving the testimony of the witnesses for the new month throughout the entire day. Pam echad nishtahu ha'idim milavo. One time the witnesses were delayed in coming. V'nitkal kalu halaviim bashir. And the Levites goofed up, so to speak, okay, with all respect to Levim. Okay, they made an error as to what particular psalm should be said that particular day. Do they do the psalm for the day, or do they do this special psalm for Rosh Chodesh? Okay. Oh, we'll see. Hitkinu, they made it takana. Shelo hiyu mekablim ela ad hamincha. Okay, that they only accept the witness' testimony up to mincha. V'im bo'u edim min hamincha ulamala. And if witnesses came from mincha time and later, nohagim oto hayom kodesh, they would therefore consider that day sanctified, ulamachar kodesh, and the next day. Okay, also, so therefore we get a 2-day Rosh Chodesh. Okay. Mishacharav Beit HaMikdash, once the temple was destroyed, Hitkin Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, Shahayu Mekablin Edut HaChodesh Kol Hayom, that they went back, so to speak, to the original practice of accepting testimony the entire day. Now, Gemara. So the Gemara asks, Ma kilkalu halaviim bashir? What kind of a mistake could the Levites have been making with regards to the psalm for the day? Hacha, here, namely in Bavel, this is how we understood it. Targimu, we explained it, Shelo Amru Shira Kol Ikar, that they didn't say any psalm. Okay. Rabbi Zera Amar, he says, Sha'amru Shira Shel Chol Im Tamid Shel Bein Ha'arbayim, that they said the normal psalm for that regular day at the evening Tamid is when they did it, instead of saying that that day was Rosh Chodesh. Amar la Rabbi Zera the Ahava Bore, again, he said to his son, Lavi, right? Puk, what are you going to call him? Right? Puk, Tani Laho, okay, go out and teach them the following. Hitkinu shelo yiyu mekablin edut hachodesh, ele kadei sheyehe shahut biyom. Tell them that they did not accept any testimony for the month, okay, in such a way so that there would be enough time, okay, on the day, lahakriv tmidin umusafin b'niskehem, to offer the tamid and the musaf and whatever is associated with them, all right? Velomar shira shalo b'shibush, and to say the appropriate psalm so there is no mistake. I amart b'shlema emor shira dechol. So the Gemara now is going to clarify. If you're going to say that the mistake that they made was saying the psalm that was the weekday, normal weekday psalm, Hainu de'ika shibush, then indeed there was a mistake there. Ela iamart lo amur klum. But if you're going to say like Bavel did, that they didn't say any kind of shir, mai shibushika, what error was there made there? Kevan de lo amur klum, since they didn't say anything, ein lecha shibush gadol mizeh. Okay, that you don't have a greater mistake. But that's even more of a mistake.
We say the Shir Shel Yom and the Bochinachi.
That's what we
We're
say.
not burning a tummy.
But we're right, but we're not doing, okay? The implication is they only did one along with the offerings, okay? They didn't do both, all right? Think about the fact that it says right at the end, on this day we say this, on this day we say this, on this day we say this. On Shabbos we say this, right? So the implication was in their time, they only said one psalm, okay? All right, so what happens? Meitiv Rav Achabar Huna. But now, when you're right, look at the following challenge, right? They challenged Rav Achabar Huna, challenged them. Tamid shel Rosh Hashanah. The Tamid for Rosh Hashanah, Shacharit, Karev Kihilchato. That morning, they could have made the appropriate offerings, right? Like a normal, right? According to its normal practice. B'musaf mahu omer. But it was when they got to Musaf, all right? What do they do then? Okay, theoretically, witnesses could have come already by that time and told them, hey, we saw the moon, therefore today is Rosh Chodesh. So therefore that's what today is Rosh Hashanah. Okay, right? So what happens, right? Mahu omer, harninu lelohim uzenu, hariu lelohim Yaakov. Okay, that's what they would say. right? That happens to be that psalm. Okay. Now, what happens? B'mincha mahu omer. So what happens then if they still did? They say the witnesses hadn't come, and Musaf they did like a normal, okay, Rosh Chodesh instead of like Rosh Hashanah.
No, they did both.
Okay.
By this time, because it's.
No,
only-
the question is, what happens if the witnesses hadn't come
I
then by then?
understand, but
We'll see. Hold on. Call Hashem Yechayel ben Ban. That's what they would say. Rosh Hashanah liot b'chamishi b'Shabbat. And what happens if Rosh Hashanah comes out? Shahashira shelo harnini Elohim uzeinu. But that's the psalm for Thursday. Lo haya omer b'shacharit harninu mipnei shechozer v'kofel et haperek. They didn't say it twice, right? In the morning, they said it only once, so they didn't have to repeat it.
you see, they did a Musa.
Okay. Ela mahu omer. But what did they say? Vasiroti misevel shechmo. That's what they would sound. They would say. V'im bo'u edim achar tamid shel shachar. If the witnesses came after the morning tamid, but before Musaf. Well, what happens then? We cast the question: if they came after Musaf but before Mincha, okay? Omer harninu afalpi shechozer v'kofel et haperek. Then they would still say harninu, even though it meant doubling it. Okay? Iyamad b'shlema kol hecha demisfeka. And if you're going to say that wherever there was a doubt, amrin and shira dechol, they would say the psalm of that weekday. Hainu dekamar amru v'kaflu. Then that's why we say that they said it and they doubled it. They just repeated it. Ela iyamad lo amor klal. But if you say like the Babylonians, right, that they didn't say any psalm whatsoever, my yomru v'kaflo. Why did they say then that they said it and doubled it? Let's just go over a tiny bit. Shani hatam the shira diome. It was different there because that was the psalm, the regular psalm for that day. And we'll stop right there. Okay. Long amudim, guys. What can I do? I didn't edit the Gemara. I just tried to teach. What?
I want to do a Reader's Digest. It's called the Riff and the.
Oh, by the way, on our discussion yesterday, I went back and I in Koren
Yeah.
that indicated that the Rif actually in his beis din did practice blowing shofar on Shabbos, so long as there was a beis din there.
1 year. That's still done.
Rabbi Green, can I ask you, yesterday I asked you a question about blowing shofar with hearing aids. And you
Right,
said,
Michael was supposed to find a psak that he came across that we'll come back to it. I didn't
we will
forget.
come back to it.
We'll come back to it, right? Okay,
Thank you.
won't
Yes.
forget.
All right, have a good day.
Take care.
Take care. Have a good day, everyone.
Hello, this is Kipperman. Who is this?
Oh, yeah, it's the nurse B. I left a message. I can come by between 12 and 1 today to see you. Is that all right?
I'm sorry, who? I don't know. Who is this?
It's the nurse B to set up your
Oh.
home here.
Oh, yeah, you said you would come, you said you would come at what, 11, one's coming at 11:30 and then no, or 1.
Oh, I can come between 12 and
Oh, that's the occupational therapist, all right.
The
So,
occupational therapist.
yeah, all right.
Well, that's all right, we work together, so it won't be a problem.
Oh, so are you still coming at 1?
No, I'll come between 12 and 1.
Between 12 and 1, okay.
Yeah,
So,
all right, I'll see you then.
okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Guess what? I called you yesterday. I called you at
Yeah, but I went to sleep.
7 and 7:30.
I went to sleep very early.
Oh, I got scared. I called. I said, "Oh my God, I want to come in here." I said, "No, I'm not going there."
I'm glad you didn't come. I was sleeping, I really was. I fell asleep early and I just slept. I think I
That's good.
changed. Let me see if I turned it off. Let me make sure. If I turned it on again. I believe I did. Oh, yeah, because I heard him call, yeah.
Yeah, they turned it on.
Yeah, because I had, this one called. Okay. I have 2 people coming. The physical therapist is coming at 11:30 and the occupational therapist is coming between 12 and 1.
Okay. That's good.
Let's see, today is the 8th. All right. I want to put my
How do you
eyes
feel now?
I felt pretty good when I got up today.
So what do you
But,
want me to make for you for breakfast?
Well, put my eye drops in first.
Of course. Anytime.
I'll put this through. 97%. Here, put it away.
You look better this morning. You look more relaxed,
I slept good last night.
not so much like bad like yesterday. Because yesterday you like so sad, you know?
I'm saying I felt better this morning.
Yeah, you look better. You feel better, you look better.
When I sleep well, I guess I feel well.
Yeah,
I don't sleep well, I don't know. I took my pills this morning. No, they didn't take these. They have to take these.
oh, look what I found on the bottom of the bed. I was sweep your floor.
I found
Floor.
Oh. That means I didn't take it.
You don't take today?
This is the Linzess.
I found right the side of the bedroom, like to the other side of the floor. When are you supposed to take that?
I take it in the morning.
See if you have lenses in there.
No, I don't.
You're supposed to have in there.
No, I took it already.
But how about, I think this one was for the next another day.
That might be for yesterday, the day
Yeah.
before.
Maybe that's why you feel bad because you don't take a medication. Let me do it. You know what I mean? You gotta be careful. Dropping, you know? Yay, he eats the
What was I supposed to eat last night? I just went to sleep and I didn't eat anything.
See, this was the problem.
What?
This is the problem. That's why you wake up like, no,
So what do I have? What was I supposed to eat last night?
oh my God. You told me you're gonna look at it, have soup, have everything.
Yeah, because I fell asleep and I just slept.
Can I tell you? Look. I am a little bit younger than you. If I don't eat in the middle, look, if I don't eat before I sleep in the morning, I don't have no strength. I be cranky. I feel I have no energy. I have a headache. Everything bad happened to me if I don't eat dinner.
But I felt better today than I did yesterday.
Yeah, but you gotta eat. You gotta get your
Well, I'm
strength
gonna
back.
eat now. Okay,
Oh my God.
I want to put this away first.
Yes, of course. I am. But you gotta eat.